It's been 3 years since the Devouring first opened its doors to a horrifying experience. VRChat is known to host thousands of unique and interesting worlds to explore, but one of the biggest projects that was all the rage at the time was the Devouring, an atmospheric thriller map that had a single goal: find your way out of a mysterious mansion. Today, let's cover some facts, both well-known and well-hidden, about this terrible tale. Obviously, spoiler warning for those who haven't played it yet. Thank you so much, Nuoance from the past. Here are 101 facts about VRChat's Devouring, starting with the Devouring was made by 4 people: Fiona, Cyan Laser, Legends, and Lakuza, who call themselves the Four Poneys, spelled P-O-N-Y-S. Unrelated to the Devouring, but still a fun fact, Finns was later added to the group to be called the Five Sharks, but had nothing to do with the development for the Devouring. The Devouring won Best Immersive World and Best Immersive Game in the 2020 Radiance Film Festival. One of its biggest perks is the lack of need for narrative tutorials, thus making it an experience for anyone, regardless if they read English or not. Unfortunately, these players will miss out on the lore though. The map had a red carpet event prior to its release to celebrate the hard work and dedication needed to finish the project, which you are seeing right now, and the lever in the center stage was an animation that played to open up the very first portal of the world, which can be redone by following the instructions in a side room. The location of the red carpet event was a dolled up version of the actual area within the original game, and this is also the same for the Hall of Fame world. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, the team had no idea what kind of menace they made with adding speedrun challenges. Lakuza's other world, Luxurion, received roughly 150 submissions in the span of 2 to 3 years, but the Devouring gained over 600 within the first 48 hours of release. This extreme wave of popularity caused Lakuza overwork to keep the world updated with new submissions, before closing them 2 weeks later since the submissions showed no sign of slowing down. And while I assume these aren't updated, here's a list of all of the speedrun times that are in the Hall of Fame. If you've beaten any of these, comment your time below. Lakuza was also the one that ended up uploading the map to his account on August 14th, 2020 and is still playable to this day. The Devouring was made before Udon Triggers was fully out, meaning it is SDK2. This is why it is buggier now versus when it first released. Also, the Four Poneys have already stated there are no plans to update the map to Udon, meaning the longer you wait, the buggier it'll get. However, Cyan Laser and Fiona have made comments about rebuilding the project to be its own standalone game with their own dev company known as Sci-Fi. VRChat's creator community can be pretty tight at times and use each other as boosts for their work. In Rar's El Nather Forest preview, you can fly by a billboard promoting the Devouring. Minus at the start and end of the map, and of course in death, there are 0 teleport zones within the actual mansion, heavily adding to the spooky and expanding immersion. Since there were 4 hands on decks, each section of the map was its own scene, which was then added to a main scene file later on. And funnily enough, the number 4 is a repetitive variable throughout the experience. The map was made by 4 people, is playable by up to 4 players, you must find 4 gems to further a specific puzzle, and finally 4 smaller gems are required to get to the end. There's also 4 gas pumps at the very beginning. The Devouring was originally planned to be a silly spook house for VRChat's 2019 Spookyality. This small project was becoming very ambitious very quickly, and thus it was decided not to stick to the timeline and instead focus on the project itself. If you look at the end credits, you'll see that each member commented that this project was not possible, even if just one of them decided it was too much work. But to break it down in the most simple terms, Lakuza was tasked to make the story, plan pacing, and 3D character models and animations. Fiona created quite a bit of the atmospheric assets such as furniture, door logic, and particles, and also worked out our dear friend the Stalker. Cyan Laser was lead programmer, focusing on scripting, important mechanics for game playability like late joining, and the complexities of most monster AI. And Legends made a legendary soundtrack for the entirety of the map, as well as modeled the majority of the first floor. Speaking of Legends, the puzzle that they pushed to come to light is the very first one you run into, the piano puzzle. The soundtrack that plays during the experience was also Legends' first big musical project, and it's what you're listening to right now. The entire house is one giant circle with shortcuts that allow you quick access to any part of the map. Most of these shortcuts are doors that need to be opened from the other side. However, since there was reasonable concern that people would cheat, the Four Poneys wanted to avoid players clipping through to unlock these doors. Thus, there are areas in the map you must cross to be able to interact with the doors. An example of this door is directly to your right at the start of the map, is only able to be opened once you walk into the hallway connected to it. Another example of anti-cheating was implemented where there were speed reset spots, where if you were using a mod to make yourself faster, would reset your speed to the standard rate. An example of this is within the water level. Your speed changes drastically as soon as you hit the water. Though it was claimed to be patched, you could clip through the secret into the safe room and after dying a certain amount of times become invincible to any attacks. Jumping into the dark hole or respawning should reset this. And it turns out this glitch was not patched and can still be done randomly. This is also why you see a bit of grit on most of the footage you're seeing, since the game thinks I'm dead. No idea how it works now? Comment your theories below. You could also just skip being chased by the water monster if you're sitting on a seat and jump off if your ride ends up getting caught. Not recommended, but connected to this, if you are sitting on a seat for the final scene, you'll not see the actual monster that plans to cook you up. The mannequin section of the map was one of the latest things to be developed, replacing a previous platforming puzzle. This discarded challenge was meant to be a distortion room with floating furniture that would warp around you as you proceeded. It was determined to be too much of a workload for the project and thus replaced. Lakuza commented that the mannequin segment actually was planned while the other three were away on a trip and kept secret until the very first prototype. He also mentioned that the mannequin section was designed to be confusing and heart-wrenching, requesting music to be much more intense and overwhelming so the players would want to quit before they made it to the end. Lakuza also seems to love scaring their teammates, secretly adding different jump scares to catch them off guard. One of his favorite scares to be had was the broken pipe at the end of the third segment in the basement, which apparently got Fiona pretty badly. Funnily enough, the pipes are also Fiona's favorite parts of the Devouring. Speaking of Fiona though, she had a very key part in the direction of the Devouring that would have changed its concept greatly, this being her hard rules to what she will and will not work on. One of these rules was no gore. This potentially completely changed the mechanics for the basement level, since the water monster was inspired by the water monster from Amnesia: The Dark Descent. In the original, you would use human body parts to lure the creature away. Fiona also hated playtesting their projects and she didn't enjoy horror, so Cyan attached brightly colored shapes to all the monsters for Fiona to test on. An unfortunate coincidence was that the water monster shapes made it look like a, giant mushroom coming at you, chasing you. It chased you. And there is a missable section of the world at the very end of the final basement section. If you walk straight to the exit instead of exploring the room, you'll miss a segment where mannequins are laughing around you while you stumble in darkness, and I think you get licked? Something just licked me! Also, this section's not viewable in your camera, so you just see a bunch of mannequins lying around. Look at these little cuties. Since we're talking about them though, Lakuza saw the mannequins as his children for the project. Within the hidden pages, you find the writers call these mannequins children of the others, and is also called the children when you are caught by them. Coincidence? Lore? Or reference? The lore also gives your giant captor a name, which was derived from 3 Indian words to create one heck of a mythical monster. The true name of the entity can be seen hidden throughout the map, but some good places to start your search is through your radio for hints. Also at the start of the map, you get a text message from P. This character has no references and was chosen as a safe letter to keep theorists from trying to connect it to any other characters or even the creators themselves. And if you look inside the dumpster, there's a random unmeshed triangle that was dubbed by my friends the dumpster cheese. Talking to Lakuza reveals this cheese was actually a way for Legends to say goodbye to using Pro Builder, and instead building the environments in Blender. Some of the lore was hidden in the void that could only be seen using the wireframe mode on your VRC camera, but unfortunately since the camera update removed this feature, it is no longer visible unless you have a special avatar. The Devouring team actually released assets from their world for free use, like the furniture, the lurker, and the mannequin. These avatars were available in a VRChat model world. You can actually light the t-shirt at the end of the map with a lighter that you use to unlock the right side second floor puzzle. And if you weren't keeping up with the lore, the shirt that you used was from a woman that Sam wrote about in their notes that went missing, showcasing that they, along with many other people, were cooked into a human soup. This is also what the human soup looks if you take a photo from above. If you don't know the actual story of the Devouring, the papers are all written by someone named Sam who is trying to figure out how to get out of the house alive. Sam ended up here with their friends and was too scared to leave the room, so they ended up watching their friends suddenly return, becoming less and less themselves until they remembered nothing but the rule to wait in the room. All known characters who ended up in the mansion are brought here through a car accident, meaning this is the being's preferred hunting method. Although it is part of the lore, there is no upper death cap, meaning you could die 100 times and just continue to play through the map. We're just built different. But on being built different, the notes that reference Sam once ran into another more injured person solving a puzzle for them, but never met the individual. However, the puzzle was still partially complete. Of course, this is all lore related and not wanting to finish a half puzzle versus a full puzzle, but this means that people could join at any time, and as long as one person was alive, the mansion would not be reset. This could be a possible reference to late joiners. A logical option would be trying to break a window to escape. However, it is explained that the glass doesn't work like glass in this mansion, being as strong as steel. Although you are requested to stay in the room until it's time for dinner, in actuality, the house is built with the expectation that you'll be exploring without permission, thus starting your own personal hell. Each death you have causes you to forget more of your normal life until you can only remember the house that you're stranded in. This is an important note since it's revealed that these notes aren't actually written by a single Sam, but actually multiple people over an unknown span of time who all lost their memories and eventually believed themselves to be Sam. It's also noted that you don't get hungry while inside the mansion, or at the very least it resets when you die. The ending of the Devouring also isn't meant to inspire you as a way to fight against your captor, but is instead a realization that you were just the lucky one they decided to let go. In case you didn't realize it, the giant lever on the wall in the safe room only had one purpose: to notify your teammates that something was found and to return swiftly. The notes scratched onto the wall of the water basement are from one of the Sams who wrote notes to you, trying to help themselves and others in case they forgot the way out. Speaking about the water level, the spot that people seem to get stuck on the most at the opening of the Devouring was flipping the green lever to continue to the second floor puzzle. The second floor puzzle was also designed to slow down the pacing and give players a chance to recoup without stopping completely. 3 out of 4 of the giant gems are for the basement water puzzle, with only the blue gem being used to open the mannequin section. The smaller gems, however, each reside in a completely different part of the map. The blue gem in the piano room, the yellow gem at the end of the mannequin section, the red gem at the end of the light puzzle, and finally the purple gem at the end of the water basement. The water basement was meant to be done between other puzzles, but there is a very easy chance you managed to do the second and third section back to back by accident. It was also the first design stage for the map, with the monster planned to be much faster than the final cut. There was an issue where people were struggling to get on the boxes in the underwater level, so Cyan added a script that added a small capsule collider for every box that intercepted the water. This made it so you didn't need to actually jump on all the boxes and could actually just walk on all areas above water. However, since this is an SDK2 map, you could use what was dubbed the flutter step, a technique where you quickly press forward to float a small bit of time. The Devouring has over 4,000 trigger components and over 1,000 buttons. For the section that you are teleported around, the cube is placed on your head to darken or lighten the vision for the respective scene. The Lurker was the most complex AI out of all the others due to its need to not only be able to break off its pathing and return shortly after, but also be synced for all players. Another struggle was that the Lurker was planned to search an area by the last person it saw, going into rooms to look before continuing on. This is featured in the game and can kind of be a pain in the long hallway. Ah! Jesus Christ! The Lurker also has different walk animations depending on which room it was in. She can also see 3 parts of your body while hunting, so if you aren't fully hidden, she can see you and chase you. She also, because of her great complexity, was one of the most CPU-intensive enemies of the game, and required special care to be more optimized for the world. On the left side of the second floor is a second Lurker, meaning there were 2 of these complex ladies. You can also skip the eyeball animation by going around the left hallway and walking through the back end, versus walking through the right one as people tend to do. Some critiques about the Devouring were centered about its lack of horror to be considered a horror title, but this was actually done on purpose as the team did not want to make a map that was nothing more than screen-covering jump scares. There were also plans to have a shared universe with VRChat's creators, though according to Lakuza, it seems like none were finished, or maybe the projects were refurbished into original content.
Psst, hey guys, I don't know how I skipped over fact number 96, but even if you sit around to wait for dinner, there is no bad ending where you're taken away to die. Alright, let's go back to the actual video.
The Stalker, known as the AFK Preventer, takes 30 seconds to spawn in. You don't have to be dead still either. As long as you stay in a small area with minimal movement, it'll come. The giant hole in the ground is known as the Living Darkness, which is the same creature that is on the second floor right side puzzle. The Devouring also has collectibles, being the 30 pages needing to finish the lore, and 1 trophy for each dev, making a total of 4 trophies. Out of all the trophies, Lakuza's is by far the hardest to get, needing to go an alternate and much longer path to be able to gather him. Finally, and weirdly enough, if you're wearing the Lurker's avatar and start the map, she doesn't actually fit into the car. I guess she can't drive. Before I end this video, I was asked by a friend why I care about the devouring as much as I do, and the answer is more simple than you'd expect. VRChat is mostly made of hobbyists who wanted to live out their own dreams, but had life get in the way or didn't know where to start. It's a stepping stone to VR innovation, and that inspires and defines virtual reality. Without meaning offense, it's actually less about the specific map itself and the interactions and history behind it. When you look at Pokemon, it's a combination of hundreds of people who all did a little bit to make a lot. They may have done it out of passion, or it could have just been a paycheck. Each person is different. But in VRChat, especially with stuff like this, each one has a passion that they want to build, and what they want to do, and how they want to do it. And that hard work should be paid off properly. I personally feel like compared to old-time VRChat, the list of adventure or long-form non-chill and club worlds are kind of diminishing. It feels like there's a longer wait for new and exciting things to do with a small group of friends, and this may be partly due to the community's response, or it could be a lack of exposure, or it could just be people are trying to work on bigger projects instead of smaller ones. But it sucks to put a ton of effort into something for it only to falter. It's why I have my list of go-tos that I really enjoy sharing with others, and the devouring is one of those staples that is great to share. And it's also why I try to post videos about these amazing worlds, because even if my reach is small, even letting one person know about something fun can lead a domino effect. Poco-P-Land is a great example where I went because I found it randomly when looking up horror. And while I don't take full credit, people around me who are connected to the people I have taken have started taking their own friends. And the more attention these worlds get, the more people realize that it's going to be worth it making something new and fun of creative. Look at the Devouring, which had originally zero plans to be its own standalone game according to some early Twitter comments. Maybe because of the heavy positive response, Sci-Fi are making its own thing to expand outside of the VRChat realm. So even if you don't enjoy VRChat but still love VR, I will always recommend you to try out the worlds that are about story, like Devouring, Treasure Heist, Summer Flare, and tons more that I've probably yet to even find. We should all work together to build these developers up so they can pay us back with experiences unique to what we've never seen before. Thank you all so much, and thank you Lakuza and Fiona for the interviews, Legends for the soundtrack, and Cyan Laser for that 1-hour lesson. And finally, the Four Poneys together for the Devouring. I cannot wait to see what new and exciting projects we'll see in the future from all of you. Make sure to drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See you all in the next video. Bye. Boing a boing, boing a boing. Swimming, swimming, we're just swimming in infested waters with a demon. Demons, demons. Oh yeah. Come on, come here. Come here. Come here, water monster, come on.